Stugotz here. Don't you wish you were at the post office right now? Teasing. Me neither. Running a business or keeping up with your schedule takes a lot, and sometimes there just aren't enough hours in the day. You've got more important things to do. Of course you do. That's why you need Stamps.com. Anything you could do at the post office, you could do at Stamps.com. I love them. Their on-demand postage means you could skip that trip to the post office. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your computer. Whether you're a small office sending invoices, an online seller shipping out products, or even a warehouse sending thousands of packages a day, Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. And time isn't the only thing you'll be saving. With Stamps.com, you can get 5 cents off every first-class stamp and up to 40% off shipping rates. Right now, our listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale without any long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the home page, and type in Stu. That's Stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the home page and type in Stu. That's Stamps.com. Use code Stu. The Dan Le Batard with Stugotz Show podcast is presented by Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
The Tampa Bay Bucks have franchised Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. Stugotz is there. I haven't been able to reach him all morning. I've been trying to reach him because this is the part of the zombie movie where people are scurrying around, bouncing into each other, and we are the radio, the one radio station that works, that gives them their information. We have very little sports news. This is not going to be our show today, but it is going to be a show. Stugotz has the dream scenario. I'm convinced that he created this pandemic so that he could work from home.
I am hoping this goes very well, Dan. I am hoping we pull off somehow over the next couple of days some of our finest shows, and perhaps this will become a permanent thing. That's what I'm hoping here.
I doubt that that's going to happen. We don't have any access to our normal library. Everyone is largely quarantined, although I've got too much going on in my life to handle it alone. So Mike is quarantined at my house. Stugotz is at his place. I'm at my place. I thought the degree of difficulty was going to be doing this show with no sports, but no access to our things is going to make it much harder, while the things happening around us are like the New York Times teaching us in a 20-second tutorial how to wash our hands. Mm-hmm. Stugotz has been, following sports all week and the little crumbs of sports that have come his way, and the gods sent us Iona. The gods sent us Rick Pitino is returning from Greece, Grease. He is returning from Greece to coach Iona, and I couldn't believe, Stugotz, I couldn't believe it, that the president of Iona, who we are trying to reach, used to be the president at Transylvania University. His name is Seamus, S-E-A-M-U-S, which is an 1800s name. Like, that is... so you saw that, and nothing surprising about that, right? Nothing surprising about Rick Pitino's always going to make his way back because somebody's always going to be desperate enough to go and grab a name to try and make their program relevant. And now Iona is more relevant than it's been because they went and got the character smeared guy and put him in charge of their program. And my guess is he'll make them pretty good.
They're already good. I mean, Tim Clues, who was their head coach and had to step down because of health-related issues on Friday, they were already good. So, but Rick Pitino, now they have a chance to be great. No, Dan, it's the least surprising thing in the world that Iona. Now, it is kind of funny, if you're going to look for any humor in any of this, that, they did it under the cloud of the coronavirus, so no one would respond to it and react to it. The window was open. Hey, Rick Pitino, Iona, there it is. But Rick Pitino has been lobbying for a job to the NBA, to St. John's University, to big universities, ACC schools, and no one was willing to bite. And Iona was in a desperate situation because they lost their coach to health-related issues. And Rick Pitino is going to make them great. I just can't believe at Iona that college basketball and the winning of college basketball is more important than principles, morals, and all that stuff. At a place like Iona, they want to be that good at basketball that badly that they signed someone like Rick Pitino. It's amazing to me.
But why? I mean, how is it surprising to you? We're always talking about the lack of purity in the games, and I don't understand if we're talking about the wiretaps proving that Creighton, under federal testimony, that Creighton was paying $100,000 per starter, that's what we're dealing with in college basketball. Why would you assign a purity to it? Pitino has been impure his entire coaching life. He's a professional mercenary.
I guess just maybe it's Iona who, it's really, Iona cares that much about putting together a great basketball program that they're willing to kind of go the Rick Pitino route. I always thought if Rick Pitino came back, it would not be a place like Iona. It would be a place maybe a university that was once really, really good at basketball no longer is, and so therefore they are desperate and want to get back to their glory days, maybe someone like Georgetown or St. John's or someone like that, and I'm just surprised that Iona did it. But when you tell me that the former president of Transylvania University is now the president there, then it all ties together.
Guys, what's the deal with fines? Because it's pronounced Seamus, even though it's not spelled with an SH. Are we still doing that? Are we waiving it because of current circumstances? And yes, I'm with you. I know how winded Dan sounds. That's just what it is with Dan.
I had to climb up the stairs. There are 8 flights of stairs and my elevator still doesn't work. Why couldn't I find you this morning, Stugotz? Were you avoiding my calls? Were you actively? I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, this is a lot of change. This is going to be a situation where I don't have the comfort of our studios. I don't have the comfort of our producers. I don't have the comfort of all our unspoken language and rhythm and timing. And I'm sitting here. Let me just call my friend Stugotz, and the most consistent thing and stable thing that I can rely on is that you won't be available to me. That I call you and you're not in any way, shape, or form ready to help me do the show, because I can't even ask you, hey, what do you want to talk about today? Because we don't have sports, we don't have a studio, we don't have most of our producers.
Right. So Abby sent me out. She's in full panic mode right now, and God forbid she went out and did this, but because it appears that maybe we're going to be in our homes for a while, she realized that we didn't have a lot of food. We weren't properly stocked up, and so she sent me out on a goose chase to all the local Publix this morning. So that's why I didn't I apologize. How was
that? Well, no, tell me a little bit about this, because what I noticed the last couple of days is that human beings are awful. And I've known this, obviously, but in times...
I'm your co-host, Dan.
I know, but in times of crisis, all I'm doing is bumping in everywhere, trying to keep my social distance, but bumping in everywhere to people like you. Did you see what happened with the New York Times reported some dude bought 17,700 hand sanitizers, just cleaned out an entire state, and I don't understand, Stugotz, why you would do that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the New York Times kind of called me out on it, too. Having a field day.
No, but then that guy was totally shamed. He wasn't initially remorseful, but he was totally shamed. I'm sitting there. Yesterday, everyone's at the grocery store fighting over a jar of tomato sauce, and this one guy is wandering the aisles saying, I think we got to get in on Netflix. We got to buy Netflix now because we got to get stock in Netflix because everybody's going to be at home. What are the things we can buy? The profiteers and the people that are gouging on this, and then the selfish people. Stugotz, if you see what's happening outside of our studios on South Beach with spring break, where people are not social distancing, they're climbing on top of each other, partying. I believe that the coronavirus is the 10th deadliest thing that I can get just from what's happening beneath us on South Beach, because people are not really paying attention to this. You saw that there were a ton of people at Disney World yesterday. People aren't paying attention to what it is that they need to be doing in this circumstance, because they're shrugging their shoulders because Donovan Mitchell, who is tested positive, is going on Good Morning America, and he's saying, look, I walk around, I could play a 7-game series right now, no problem. Nobody would see that I have any symptoms. I don't feel any symptoms, but I've tested positive, and that's what's happening now, and people are being hugely irresponsible. As you see, that our numbers are now comparable to Italy, which Italy, on a pace that Italy was on before it had to shut down.
Dan, it's I tried to, because I know a lot of people are criticizing young people, college kids, high school kids for going out, spring break, partying and all that. And yes, you could call it selfish because young people, you can get it too, and you can pass it on to your parent. You can pass it on to anyone. You can pass it on to your parents. You can pass it on to your grandparents. You can pass it on to a complete stranger. But I'm trying to put myself in their shoes back when I was 18, 19, 20 years old and thinking to myself, would I self-quarantine? Would I be doing the right thing at that stage in my life? And so I understand, but I think they're being unfairly criticized. I don't know if I would stay spring break. I don't know if I'd stay in. I don't know if I'd go out. I don't know if I'd go on.
You at 20 years old isn't the barometer. You at 46-year-old isn't the barometer. You can't be the barometer on the moral way that people should behave on behalf of others. Selflessness is not one of your traits.
No, I know, but college kids, they're only thinking about the now and themselves, and this is my last spring break or my first spring break, and I don't care, and I'm immune to this. I kind of see why college kids would kind of act the way they're acting.
It doesn't make it okay. It doesn't. Why are you excusing the stupidity of college kids?
Well, because that's the group that's getting widely criticized by adults. And so, listen, I'd like to think eventually I'd end up doing the right thing, that my parents would call me and say, hey, get the hell inside. But I do think early on they were being unfairly criticized. So hopefully, are you telling me this is still going on? It was going on last night down on South Beach?
Yes, it was going on I've got 2 cruise ships outside of my home.
Your personal ones.
My personal cruise ships are just going in circles out there for the last 48 hours. They don't have anywhere to dock. They're just 2 cruise ships that have been outside in the water for 48 hours, as right in front of them, the beach is teeming with people getting arrested by police. The social distancing isn't available to the police officers who have to grab people and arrest them.
It seems like a zombie movie outside.
It really does.
Yeah, I imagine. I thought walking over here yesterday, dropping off this Comrex unit, I thought I was going to walk past a sprinting Will Smith that was going somewhere to save all of us. This is a truly disgusting sonic experience, this show. Because we're wearing headsets and I can hear every sound that is coming from your body right now, including the sweat that is dripping onto the microphone. This is gross.
It is. And unhealthy. Need to ask for your humble forgiveness as we stumble around today because we're trying to do this under some difficult circumstances. Mike Stugotz just dropped something at his home. What did you drop?
Yeah.
What
I mean, it's a mess in here, man. I don't know what to tell you. I dropped my phone fell, and then a bottle of water fell, and then there's a tiny little lamp I have on my desk here that also fell. So it was a 3-object pile up,
All right. So, anyways, I ask your forgiveness as we try to do this show and give you some sense of normalcy while doing it amid total upheaval. Mike and I are on South Beach. Stugotz is 90 minutes away in his dream scenario, just wandering in and out of his kitchen and not answering anybody's phone calls, and then just sitting down and giving sports opinions that he would be giving to the plants in his house if he were under quarantine and didn't have a microphone. Meanwhile, the other producers of this show, in order to get on the show, have to call into the show. So Cote, Mike told me that you were feeling sad for Tom Brady this weekend, that amid everything that's happening around here, as Tom Brady is romping on a beach somewhere with his supermodel wife, you were feeling bad for him?
I was. I still am, actually. I'm also kind of enjoying this because I just got the Uber Eats McDonald's. I caught the first segment. It's going really well for me so far. But yes, I did feel bad for Tom Brady. Want him.
Okay, so you're gonna have to you're gonna have to excuse us on this. That call is coming through Bristol. Mike was very happy. Mike found the silver lining in the coronavirus because Uber Eats has announced that it's going to waive its delivery fee.
Oh, dude, jackpot! I think that's where Cote was going. But yes, in the time of panic, I guess we're keeping local businesses going. While they, in all sorts of cities in the U.S., they're capping whether or not you can do it. In some cities, it's just don't go there altogether. Some cities, it's reduced capacity by 50%. I've been heavy on the Uber Eats anyways. As long as this stuff's available, I'm going to hoard it. And this is just, I hit the jackpot with no Uber Eats fees. This is going to literally save me hundreds of dollars per week.
But Mike, can I ask you a serious question? I love Uber Eats. I've been enjoying it all weekend as well. But haven't we arrived at the point where you are nervous about someone else putting their hands on your bag of food? Like, have we not arrived at that point yet? Because that's why I went to Publix this morning. I was just trying to find a whole bunch of steak, some chicken, some grilled chicken, and just throw it on the grill and do it that way.
I mean, yeah, I'm nervous. It's not really a conversation I wanted to have. Yes, That's the elephant in the room with all of this. You don't know, but honestly, you don't know that when you reach for a handle. Anytime you leave your own home, you're taking some sort of gamble in times like these. What Donovan Mitchell said, on one hand, it's a little encouraging, right? Because you have someone that's walking around with this virus that's in the news and not feeling anything. So part of you is like, okay, well, at least the fear of this thing gripping me, it's different for everybody, right? But there's a chance you see someone like Donovan Mitchell, they're not feeling anything. But also, it's equal parts terrifying, right? Because whatever Donovan Mitchell has, if he just...
Yeah, you want them to look like zombies. Yeah. Where are the zombies? You want everybody to look like zombies.
Because there might be dumb people out there that say, well, Donovan Mitchell, if I'm not going to feel bad, then I'll just be selfish. And I'll just carry this, and you never know how it could affect somebody else. This is... I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say this is unprecedented.
I think that Chris Cote should get in his car and drive straight to the penalty box and go sit there for a 5-minute major based on his work.
Based on just cell phone signal.
I thought you were telling him to drive it to the ocean.
I want to know those Stugotz, because the thing that we were talking about last week, we were talking about, so Kevin Love starts the generosity. He gives $100,000 to help the little people, the people who aren't making very much in the arena. And then the immediate pivot by people was to question why it is that the Cavs organization wasn't handling it. I saw so much of that this weekend because so many athletes were giving to take care of the stadium workers, the arena workers. So many were giving money. Rudy Gobert is giving $500,000. J.J. Watt is giving $350,000. Okay, we're going to get that fixed.
Is that Chris Cote still on the line?
Is that Chris Cote?
Yeah,
What is that? Chris! All right, go to commercial.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W-30. Potential strap-it-on situation here, Dan. Here's your SportsCenter update. The NFL has sent a memo to its team saying that the new league year will start on time. The league wanted to move back the start date, but the Players Association would not provide consent, saying deals can be made remotely. The NBA has sent a memo to all teams saying that their players can leave their team's home city during the league's hiatus under certain circumstances. Practices remained banned indefinitely. NBA owners and executives are preparing for a mid to late June return to play. And finally, in the late 1990s, neuroscientist Jack Panksepp discovered that rats emitted a unique ultrasonic vocalization while playing or anticipating the opportunity to play with other rats. These chirps seem to indicate a positive emotional state. What's more, there was another context in which rats emitted the chirps. Rats laugh when they were subjected to playful, administrated, manual, oh boy, somatosensory stimulation. I mean, go to hell, Mike. In everyday language, rats laugh when they were tickled by the experimenters. In fact, rats emitted more laughter when being tickled by people than during any other activity. Where do you need a Blink security camera? On your porch to help protect deliveries? Helping keep your family safe when you travel? How about alerting you when kids get home from school? Where do you need Blink security cameras? Visit BlinkProtect.com/Dan. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
So under the very best of circumstances, like optimal conditions, we're a total bleep show. Mike Ryan is the producer and governor of a total bleep show, and yet somehow still a perfectionist. So The last two segments have been an unmitigated disaster, and we're going to stumble around all week figuring out how to do this, and hopefully you're patient with us. Hopefully it's funnier when we mess up than when we're actually capable. But Mike Ryan is getting upset and bothered by the smallest little hiccups, the smallest little things. For example, Mike, twice, Stugotz, we've come back from break and the music has been a hiccup loud when you start reading. And Mike clenches his fist. And I'm saying to myself, is he not listening to the rest of what's going on here? As we try to do a show for America with Stugotz 90 minutes away, a show that requires rhythm and chemistry and unspoken eye contact. None of our producers are here, and the one incompetent one who called in just totally torpedoed the show when he called in with a bad phone line from beyond. So we ask for your patience as we stumble around here. What was the weirdest thing, though, Stugotz, that you saw this weekend? Because WWE SmackDown coming out to empty lasers shooting across WWE SmackDown trying to do it without fans was amazing to watch. It made me a little sad, but I sort of admired their commitment to entertainment.
I watched it, Dan. This was the most I enjoyed wrestling in some time, and I'm looking really forward to today's Monday Night Raw. It's 316, so Stone Cold Steve Austin has to be there. It was refreshing, and I do kind of appreciate that we're willing to take all the precautions necessary, but we still need the wrestling. And they just sort of tout themselves as like, we're here for you in hard times, and we're going to find out what John Cena has to say to Bray Wyatt. I love it. I'm fine.
Was it weird to you? Because
it was
the
super
shooting,
weird.
The shooting lasers and the
production value.
The people coming out to no noise, no fans, as they did exactly the same intro that they would do if the place was filled with fans.
Yeah, and they were trying to figure out how to be a heel when there's no crowd to tick off. Right? So you have one-dimensional wrestlers that are just bad guys, and what are they going to insult? Like all the fat people in this town? Like they have to find new inventive ways to be bad. So we'll see. And still, no formal announcement on WrestleMania. Like Vince McMahon is just going to hold out until someone tells him this can't happen.
Dana White's doing the opposite. He's like, everything is going on as usual.
Yeah.
Everything is going to happen as usual. You guys are going to get Khabib and Ferguson.
Did you guys watch the UFC card? Because I did. And
did I watch it? Are you kidding me? It never looked so good to me. I mean, I don't know a fighter's name. I don't even like the sport. But, I mean, this weekend it looked amazing.
I had 2 open parlays closed because of that UFC action, so I'm very thankful for it. I am honestly cool with the UFC fighting, and I know that's kind of like a hot take these days. It makes everybody uncomfortable. But I need to make sure that these fighters are getting tested.
Yeah, tested correctly.
I need to make sure, at least give me that. And there's all sorts of chatter coming out that they weren't really getting tested down in Brazil. That makes me uneasy. We've seen with NBA teams are having more success finding these tests than a lot of people are in their normal hometown. So if we're going to keep pushing through with the combat sports and sort of admitting to ourselves that we have a different standard for wrestling and combat sports, at least get the messaging out there that these people are getting tested.
Did you see, Stugotz, that Christian Wood of the Pistons tested positive for the coronavirus after playing the Jazz? He was matched up on Rudy Gobert, and because he was matched up on Rudy Gobert, he ends up testing positive for the coronavirus. I saw that Rachel Nichols tweeted out some sympathy, some compassion about making mistakes to Rudy Gobert, who Bruce Arthur in Toronto is calling the idiot hero, because he really did. He stopped sports. Rudy Gobert has been hugely apologetic. He donated $500,000 because he feels so stupid. We have sound. I don't know how to throw to it. I don't know. I'm scared to throw it to sound in Bristol. We have
What's
sound,
the cue number?
We have sound in Bristol of Rudy Gobert sounding hugely apologetic, as if $500,000 doesn't do the trick quite enough. Let's try a trick here, Stugotz, at the height of the entertainment ladder.
Yeah.
If I throw it to Bristol right now and ask for some Rudy Gobert, look how nervous Mike is.
Oh, I think we should gamble on this.
All right.
I want to find the cut ID.
All right, so wait a minute. Hold on. So you want to gamble with Mike? What is the bet? What is the bet you want to put on whether or not Bristol has the sound I need? Are you betting that, yes, they...
Yeah!
This feels like a magical power to have where I could just sort of think of a sound and then it appears. Let's see how fast they could find that Ed Orgeron PSA. And just go ahead and play it while we're talking amongst each other because Ed Orgeron... Do you believe in miracles? Yes. Was that your dog, Stugotz?
Yeah, that's Finny. That's my dog Finnegan. Yeah.
I'm wondering if we have this power with any sound. You just mentioned the Al Michaels call. Like, if Dan just starts asking for the Al Michaels call...
There's no way they can find that.
If you have it, just interrupt the show as it goes. This is an amazing power.
At any point that you guys have that sound of Al Michaels calling the 1980 Olympic miracle on ice, feel free to just throw it into the broadcast. I'll give you a couple of seconds here filibustering about what my point was last segment.
Yes, I like the challenge. And then after that, David Blatt breaking down the...
Goosebumps, man.
Oh, Stugotz, you should do it. Play David. Everybody in Bristol, play David Blatt sound breaking down the Game 2 of the NBA Finals.
Oh, come on. You're doing the degree of difficulty too hard.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard Show podcast brought to you by Capital One. Why settle for average? With Capital One, you can open a savings account with a rate 5 times the national average. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Capital One NA, member FDIC. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
So Emily Walden on Twitter, Stugotz, writes the following. Some thoughts from a former minor league player, baseball player, who wished to remain anonymous. You walk into work tomorrow, your boss tells you and your coworkers that the company has suspended operations due to the virus, and you are all being sent home for an unknown length of time. Could be a few weeks, a few months. You will also not receive your salary for the duration of the suspended operations. You have bills that need to be paid, so you look to get another job. No one will hire you because you will have to up and leave to return to your previous job once operations continue. You have bills that need to be paid, so you look into filing for unemployment. You are denied because you are still under contract with your previous company that suspended operation. You have bills that need to be paid, but your hands are tied and you're at the mercy of your company who suspended operations. This is what minor league baseball players are going through right now, all while their company wants them to stay in shape and be ready to perform at the drop of a hat. So these players have to work out and train, but many training facilities are closing due to the pandemic. Throw away the arguments of these players being paid too low because while that is very true, they are just looking for some support from the billion-dollar organization that is supposed to look out for their best interest. The very first comment after that, is seriously, people are dying and we should feel bad for these guys. Oh, that's boy. That's where we are with this stuff. The same thing happened to Scott Van Pelt. Scott Van Pelt decides to, he goes, is that your dog again?
Yeah, that's Finnegan. Yeah, Finny. Yeah.
Scott Van Pelt tweeted, so many college and high school athletes saw their seasons, maybe their playing careers just end. No send-off, no nothing. We want to fix that. Share their stories, photos, and videos here. We should certainly have the room for some to join the show. Let's celebrate them. Hashtag senior night. And a guy, the first comment is a guy playing a tiny violin with the same comment. Seriously, people are dying and we should feel bad for the college kids?
Oh, jeez.
Like, the need, well, the funny thing is, Stugotz,
me.
I just saw that J.J. Watt donated $350,000, and somebody's first comment after that was to put, how much have you given, Stugotz? How much have you given? Where can you put your dog that is a little less invasive, Stugotz?
That's a very good question. I'll have to go outside and talk to Abby and the kids.
What the hell was that sound? What the hell was that sound? I don't know what that. Oh, that sound. What is that sound?
Dan, you know what that means, right? You don't know what that means?
No.
Play it again. It means the NFL news, it never stops. And if it's not stopping today, Dan, it literally means it's never stopping. The Cowboys have tagged Dak Prescott. The Bengals have tagged wide receiver A.J. Green. And poop is brown because of dead red blood cells and bile. I mean, how about that, Dano? Ryan Tannehill gets $118 million, $91 million guaranteed. He threw 15 passes in the playoffs last year for like 150 yards. Dak Prescott had over 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. He can not get a long-term deal for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's unbelievable. Dak is playing a dangerous game here with the Cowboys. They tag him 1 year, no long-term deal. Tannehill gets $118 million for a couple of decent games in the regular season, and Dak Prescott is still awaiting a long-term deal. Incredible, huh?
Who's angrier today? Is it Dak Prescott for being franchised, or is it Derrick Henry because Tannehill just got, as you said, $118 million, $91 million guaranteed, 29.5 per year, and what he did in the playoffs was mostly hand off to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry gets franchised at a time that the running back, Stugotz, is even less valuable than he was 2 years ago because the new collective bargaining agreement makes it that Devontae Freeman just got waived because Bomani Jones has been pointing this out. There's no middle class anymore in the NFL. Like, you're either top 15 at your position, or you're somebody who can be waived and is totally disposable, and nowhere more than at running back, even if you're Derrick Henry who owns the playoffs.
I think if you're asking me who's most upset, it's got to be Derrick Henry. I mean, Tannehill, I understand you have to take care of the quarterback, and that's the most important position in the sport, most important position in sports. But if you look back to the AFC divisional playoff game against the Ravens, Dan, against that team at Baltimore, Tannehill threw the ball 14 times. Henry ran the ball 30 times for 195 yards. I mean, he has to be upset, right? That guy takes a beating. He delivers a beating. But he ran the ball 30 times. They ran him into the ground, and they're going to do it again this year, and he has to be upset that he doesn't have a long-term deal.
Where is Tom Brady going to end up? Like, how many options are there? Is it just now Tampa Bay, and is it down already as this starts to Tampa Bay and New England? Like,
I heard the Dolphins are in that mix.
For the love of God.
What do you mean?
But why would he go? He's got to go to a place that's close to winning. Why the hell would he go to the Dolphins or the Bucks? Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the team that's the closest to winning is the team that he was, that he was on, the Patriots. So, I mean, I don't know, Brian Flores, nice weather, young team, gets to play for 2 years, gets to, teach lessons to Tua. I mean, maybe it's a decent spot here for Tom Brady in the absence of anything else being available to him.
Oh, but he wants to win. All right, we're going to talk some football in the next hour. We've got Chris Mortensen coming up. He's going to join us and explain some of the things going on with this collective bargaining agreement. Dominique Foxworth is going to help us with that as well, and so is Mina Kimes. But we've also got Stugotz because we're going to shame the gougers, the coronavirus gougers. We've got the reporter who shamed this guy I don't remember whether it was Kentucky or Tennessee, who got 17,700 hand sanitizers. He's going to join us in the 12:30 hour, but Chris Mortensen is going to join us next.